The space station Karen 9 was old, cold, and mostly forgotten. It floated at the edge of known space, where broken ships came to die and desperate beings came to hide. Most aliens avoided its lower levels. The lights flickered there, the air smelled of rust, and strange sounds echoed through the metal halls. Evan Hawley, a human scavenger, walked alone through one of those dark corridors. He was not a soldier. He was not important. Evan survived by collecting scrap, fixing old machines, and trading what little he found. Humans were not respected on Karen 9. They were seen as weak, emotional, and foolish. Evan had learned to keep his head down. As he moved past a pile of broken cargo crates, he suddenly stopped. He heard a sound. It was soft, weak, almost like crying. Evan frowned. Most creatures on this station were dangerous. Everyone knew the rule. If you hear something in the dark, walk away. But the sound came again, thin, tired, and full of pain. Evan's heart tightened. He slowly followed the sound, his boots echoing. On the metal floor, behind a fallen crate, he found the source. It was a small alien cub. The creature was no bigger than a large dog. Its fur was short and striped, dark silver with faint blue lines. Its eyes were too large for its head, glowing softly. One of its legs was injured, and its ribs showed under its skin. The cub tried to growl. It failed. Instead, it let out a weak cry and collapsed. Evan froze. He knew what this was. A Zirathi cub. Everyone feared the Zirathi. Adult Zirathi were powerful. Predators, fast, smart, and deadly. Their females were known as tigresses, hunters that could tear armored soldiers apart. If a cub was here, then its mother could be close. Very close. Evan swallowed. Station law was clear. Feeding alien wildlife was forbidden. Helping a Zirathi cub was worse. If guards found out, he could be thrown off the station or worse. The cub looked at him. Not with anger, with hunger. Evan slowly removed his pack. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was his last protein ration and a small bottle of water. That food was meant to last in 2 days. He looked at the cub again. It tried to stand. It failed. Evan sighed. Stupid human, he whispered to himself. He tore the ration in half and placed it on the floor. He stepped back, keeping his movements slow. The cub sniffed the air. At first, it did not move. Then, inch by inch, it crawled forward. It grabbed the food and ate fast, like it feared someone would steal it. Evan placed the water nearby. The cub drank for a moment. The corridor was quiet. Evan felt something strange then. The cub looked at him, not like an animal, but like a thinking being. Its ears twitched. Its tail moved slowly. Then it did something unexpected. It pressed its head lightly against Evan's boot. Evan's breath caught. That's not smart, he murmured. The cub suddenly pulled away. Its ears flattened. It looked past Evan into the dark. Then, without warning, it turned and ran limping but fast into a broken maintenance tunnel. Evan stood there, stunned. That's he said quietly. You're just gone? He picked up his pack, his heart beating fast. Helping the cub was already dangerous. Staying longer was worse. He turned to leave. That was when the alarms began. Red lights flashed along the corridor. A harsh voice echoed through the station. Warning. Unauthorized life form detected in lower sector. Evan's blood ran cold. Guards would come. They always came hard and fast. He backed away into the shadows, his mind racing. Had someone seen the cub? Had a sensor picked it up? Or worse, had its mother arrived? As Evan hurried through another passage, he felt something heavy in the air. A deep vibration passed through the station's metal walls, slow, powerful, like footsteps too big to be normal. Far away, something let out a low, controlled growl. Not weak, not afraid. Hunting. Evan stopped, for the first time since arriving on Karen 9. The human scavenger realized something terrible. The cub had not run away to hide. It had run to get help, and whatever was coming next was not going to be small. Weak or starving. It was coming for him, and the station was about to learn what a single act of human kindness could awaken in the dark. The alarms did not stop. Red lights washed over the metal halls of Karen 9 as Evan moved fast through the lower levels. Every echo sounded too loud. Every shadow felt alive. He kept his head down and his steps light, just like he had learned to do since his first day on the station. Unauthorized life form, the voice repeated. All personnel remain in place. Evan did the opposite. He turned into a narrow service tunnel and pressed his back to the cold wall. His chest rose and fell as he tried to slow his breathing. He told himself to think clearly. Panic never helped. Panic got people killed. The cub, that was the problem. Sensors on Karen 9 were old, but they were sensitive to unfamiliar biology. A wounded alien cub running through maintenance tunnels would light them up like fire. Guards would assume the worst. They always did. Evan clenched his jaw. I should have walked away, he whispered. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He would make the same choice again. He always did. That was the curse of being human on a station that had forgotten. Mercy. Boots thundered in the distance. Security teams. Evan waited until the sound passed, then slipped out and moved deeper. He needed to reach his quarters. If he could lock the door and shut down the scanner inside, he might buy some time. As he crossed an open cargo bay, voices echoed above him. Zerathi signs confirmed, one guard said. Another laughed, sharp and nervous. Great, just great. As if this place wasn't bad enough. Evan froze. Confirmed. That word hit harder than the alarms. If the guards were right, then the cub was not alone anymore. A Zerathi mother would not abandon her young. She would hunt. She would track. And she would punish. A deep vibration rolled through the station. Not an explosion. Not machinery. Something alive. The metal floor trembled under Evan's boots. Loose. Cables swayed. Dust fell from the ceiling in thin sheets. Conversations stopped. Even the guards went silent. Then came the sound. A low, steady growl that carried through walls and airlocks alike. It was calm. Confident. Deadly. Evan's stomach tightened. He had heard stories about Zerathi tigresses. They did not rush. They did not roar without reason. When they made a sound like that, it meant they had found a trail. And Evan knew exactly whose trail it was. He reached his quarters and sealed the door. His hands shook as he locked the inner bolt. The small room felt tighter than ever. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. Think, he told himself. Just think. He had fed the cub, given it water, shown kindness to a predator species. Kindness could look like weakness, or worse, a challenge. Another tremor shook the station. This one closer. Much closer. Evan opened the small monitor by his door. Security feeds flickered to life. Most cameras showed chaos guards running, aliens hiding, lights flashing. Then one feed froze on a single image. A shape moved through a wide corridor. Tall, muscular, covered in striped fur that shimmered under the lights. Her eyes glowed gold, sharp and focused. Each step was silent, controlled, full of power held. Backed by choice. The Tigress mother. She was beautiful in a terrifying way. Every alien in her path moved aside. Some lowered their heads. Others backed away without a sound. She was not attacking. She was searching. Evan's breath caught. The cub stepped into view behind her, limping but alive. Its eyes were brighter now, stronger. It looked from side to side, then lifted its head and sniffed the air. It stopped. The cub turned. Its gaze locked directly toward Evan's sector. Evan felt a cold chill crawl up his spine. Oh no, he whispered. Tigress followed the cub's focus. Her ears twitched. Her tail stilled. She lifted her head and breathed in slowly. She had his scent. Outside Evan's door, The station fell strangely quiet. The alarms softened, then shut down one by one. Even the guards stopped moving. Everyone felt it. The hunt was over. Evan stepped back from the door, his heart pounding. He was not armed. He was not fast. There was nowhere to run. A shadow fell across the door, then another. Vibration right outside his room. The cub let out a soft sound. Not fear. Not hunger. Recognition. Evan swallowed hard as the door sensors blinked red. Something strong enough to tear the door apart was standing on the other side. And for the first time, Evan realized a terrible truth. He was not about to be punished for feeding the cub. He was about to be judged. And the tigress mother had finally come to see the human who touched her child. The door did not break. That alone shocked everyone watching the security feeds. A Zirathi tigress could tear through steel if she wanted. She could rip the door apart in seconds. But she didn't. She stood still outside Evan's small room, her massive shadow filling the corridor. The lights above flickered, unable to decide if they should stay on. Inside, Evan barely breathed. His eyes stayed locked on the door sensor. It blinked slowly, red and yellow, struggling to read the life form standing beyond it. His hands felt numb. His mouth was dry. Then came a sound, not a roar. A slow, deep breath. The tigress was smelling the air. Evan's scent. Behind her, the cub stepped forward. It pressed its small nose near the bottom of the door and made a soft sound, high, gentle, almost like a question. Evan closed his eyes. "It's me," he whispered, though he knew they could hear his heart anyway. Outside, the tigress lowered her head. Her glowing eyes softened just a little as she watched her cub. The cub turned and looked up at her, then back at the door. It tapped the metal lightly with one paw. Tap. The sound echoed in the quiet hall. The tigress straightened and did something no one expected. She stepped back. Across the station, guards stared at their screens in confusion. "She's not attacking," one muttered. "Why isn't she attacking?" Another whispered. The tigress lifted one claw and slowly pressed it against the door panel, not in anger, but with control. The metal bent slightly under her strength, but she did not force it open. Instead, she waited. Evan understood. She wanted him to choose. His legs felt weak as he stepped closer to the door. Every part of his mind screamed at him to stay back. This was madness. This was death. But another thought was louder. The cub had trusted him. Slowly, Evan reached for the manual lock. The moment his fingers touched it, the cub made a happy sound. That decided it. Evan unlocked the door. The metal slid open with a hiss. The corridor outside was filled by her presence. The tigress was even larger up close. Her striped fur shimmered with faint patterns that looked almost like moving stars. Her muscles were tight but still. Her eyes bright gold locked onto Evan. She could kill him in one movement. She didn't move. Evan stood straight, forcing his shaking legs to obey him. He did not raise his hands. He did not bow. He simply stood there and met her gaze. "I helped your child," he said softly. "That's all." The cub limped forward and rubbed against Evan's leg, just like before. Gasps echoed from nearby corridors. Several aliens froze where they stood. A guard dropped his weapon. The tigress looked down at the cub, then back at Evan. She lowered herself. Slowly. Gracefully. She sat. That single action sent shockwaves through the station. A Zirathi tigress did not sit before prey. She did not lower herself before weakness. She was listening. Evan swallowed and spoke again. He was hungry, hurt. "I didn't think. I just did what I could." The tigress tilted her head slightly. Her ears moved as if reading more than his words, his tone, his fear, his honesty. She reached out with one clawed hand and gently lifted the cub's injured leg. Her touch was careful, precise. She examined it, then glanced at Evan. The message was clear. "You helped, but you did not heal." Evan nodded. "I don't have proper tools, but I can try. If you let me." Silence stretched out, then the tigress leaned forward and placed the cub between them. She pushed the cub toward Evan. Trust. Evan's chest tightened. He slowly knelt and checked the injury. He used what little medical gel he had, wrapping the leg as best he could. The cub did not resist. It watched him closely. When he finished, Evan leaned back. "That's all I can do." The tigress studied the cub. Then Evan. Then she did something that no one on Karen 9 would ever forget. She lowered her massive head until her forehead touched Evan's shoulder. A Zirathi sign of respect. Not submission. Recognition. Across the station, fear turned into silence. Silence turned into disbelief. Evan did not move. He did not breathe. When the tigress lifted her head, her eyes were no longer cold. They were curious. She spoke not with words, but with a low vibration that echoed through the walls and into every living being's bones. "This human is under my protection." The cub purred softly. Evan realized then that feeding a starving cub had not saved his life. It had changed it forever. And this was only the beginning. Silence ruled Karen 9. Not the peaceful kind. This silence was heavy, tight, afraid. Every alien, every guard, every machine seemed to wait for the next move of the Zirathi tigress. Evan was still on one knee when she lifted her head from his shoulder. Her eyes moved past him, toward the guards. 3 security officers stood at the far end of the corridor. Their weapons were raised, hands shaking. They had orders. Orders were simple things. Orders did not understand moments like this. The station commander's voice crackled through their cums. "Contain the threat," he said. "The human is irrelevant." Evan heard it. So did the tigress, her ears flattened. The cub sensed the change and pressed close to Evan's side, its small body trembling. Evan placed one hand on the cub's back without thinking. The fur was warm now, stronger. The tigress stepped forward, not fast, not slow. Each step landed with quiet authority. The metal floor bent slightly beneath her weight. The guards swallowed hard but did not retreat. "Stay back," one of them shouted. "This is your last warning." The tigress stopped. She looked at them, not as prey, not as enemies, but as obstacles. Then she did something unexpected. She moved sideways. She placed herself fully between Evan and the guards. The message was clear. Him first. The corridor cameras caught everything. Across the station, aliens crowded around screens. Some held their breath. Others whispered in fear. A Zirathi tigress defending a human. That had never happened before. The commander's voice returned, sharper now. "Fire a warning shot." The guards hesitated. Evan slowly stood. "No," he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "Don't." The guards looked at him like he was insane. "This doesn't concern you," one snapped. "It does." Evan replied. "I caused this. I fed the cub." That confession hit harder than any weapon. Murmurs spread through the station. "He fed it? A human? That's a death sentence." The tigress turned her head slightly and looked at Evan, not angry, not surprised, understanding. Evan took a step forward, past her protective shadow. The cub whimpered, but Evan stayed calm. "I didn't mean to break your laws," Evan said, speaking to the guards, the commander, and anyone listening. "I just saw someone starving." "Someone?" a guard scoffed. "That thing is a predator." "So are you," Evan replied. "With better weapons." The guards fell silent. The commander hesitated. His voice came back slower. "Human, step away from the creature." Evan shook his head. "She's not a creature. She's a mother." The tigress lifted her head slightly. Across the station, several alien elders stiffened. Zirathi culture was older than Karen 9. Motherhood was sacred to them. Even enemies respected it. The commander knew this. "Your kindness doesn't erase the danger," he sighed. "No, Evan agreed. But it explains it. The Tigress moved again. This time, she lowered herself fully to the floor. Not sitting, lying down, her head rested near Evan's feet. Her cub curled beside her chest. Submission? No. Control. She was showing she did not want violence, but she was not afraid of it. The guards lowered their weapons inch by inch. One of them whispered, "Commander, if we fire, this station won't survive the response." The commander knew that too. "Stand down," he said finally. "All units, stand down." Relief spread like air returning to a sealed room. Evan exhaled slowly. The Tigress rose and faced him again. Her eyes searched his face deeper now. She was not only judging what he had done, but who he was. She reached out and touched his chest lightly with 2 fingers. Her claw tips stopped just short of his skin. She felt his heartbeat. Fast, honest, alive. Then she pulled her hand back and made a low sound steady, powerful, filled with meaning. The station translators struggled, then failed. No words appeared, but everyone understood. This human is bound to my cub. Gasps filled the halls. A bond, rare, permanent, dangerous. The commander's voice came one last time, subdued now. "Human, you are free to go." Evan looked down at the cub. The cub looked back up at him and made a small happy sound. Free. He realized something then. Karen 9 was no longer his station. And Earth was no longer his only home. The Tigress turned toward the exit corridor. She did not look back. She did not need to. She knew he would follow. Evan took one last look at the watching aliens, at the guards, at the laws that had almost failed him. Then he stepped forward, into the shadow of a predator, into the protection of a mother, and into a future no human had ever walked before. Walk through Karen 9 felt different now. Aliens who once ignored Evan moved out of the way. Some stared openly. Others lowered their heads. Whispers followed him through the halls like shadows that could not keep up. A human. The Zirathi mother chose him. That cub belongs to her. And him. Evan walked slowly beside the Tigress. Her cub stayed close to his leg, limping less than before. Every few steps the Tigress looked back, not to check for danger, but to make sure Evan was still there. No one tried to stop them. No. One was brave enough. They reached a wide observation hall near the station's core. The ceiling was high and clear, showing the stars outside. This was where station leaders gathered during emergencies. And now, they were all waiting. Alien representatives stood in a half circle. Tall, short, scaled, furred species from many systems. Some had ruled planets, some had destroyed them. All of them were afraid. The station commander stepped forward. "You cannot stay here," he said carefully, choosing each word like a weapon he did not want to use. "Your presence puts the station at risk." The Tigress stopped. She did not growl. She did not threaten. She simply looked at him. The cub stepped in front of Evan and let out a small sound, sharp, protective. Evan felt it then. The cub was not hiding behind him. It was guarding him. Evan raised his hand slightly. "We're not here to fight," he said. His voice echoed in the large hall. "She came for her child, that's all." "That is not all," an alien elder replied. "A bond was declared. That changes everything." The Tigress turned her head toward the elder. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but focus. She made a low sound, slow and steady. The translator finally caught part of it. "The bond exists because he chose kindness when fear was easier." The hall fell silent. Evan swallowed. He did not feel brave. He did not feel chosen. He felt small, but he stood anyway. "I didn't save the cub to make a bond," he said. "I did it because he was hungry." The elder studied him. "You knew the risk." "Yes," Evan answered. "I chose it." That was when the fear changed. Not all at once. Not loudly, but it changed. Some aliens straightened. Others relaxed their claws or tails. A few even nodded. A soldier who had once mocked Evan spoke quietly. He could have walked away. Yes, another said. We all would have. The tigress moved again. She stepped closer to Evan and placed one arm around him, not tight, not trapping, protective. A symbol. Across the hall, something old and powerful shifted. The elder lowered their head. The station will honor the bond. The commander hesitated. You would let a predator and a human leave together? They already have, the elder replied. Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Not pride. Not victory. Belonging. The tigress knelt and looked Evan directly in the eyes. Her voice came again, low and clear this time. You fed my child when the universe did not care. Walk with us. Evan looked at the cub. The cub's tail flicked happily. He smiled, just a little. I will, he said. Outside the station. A new story began to spread through space. Not of fear, not of war, but of a human who chose kindness and was answered by a predator queen. And for the first time in a long while, the galaxy paid attention to humanity. Not because of its strength, but because of its heart. The docking bay doors opened slowly. Cold spacelight poured in, painting the metal floor silver. Evan stood at the edge of the bay, staring at the ship he had never imagined boarding. It was not built like human ships. Its shape was smooth and powerful, like a resting predator. Soft blue lines moved across its surface, alive and aware. This was the Tigress's vessel. Around them, station workers had stopped pretending to work. Guards stood still. Even the loud machine seemed quieter. Everyone wanted to see what the human would do next. Evan felt every eye on him. The tigress stood beside him, tall and calm. Her cub sat at her feet, tail flicking with growing strength. The injury was healing faster than expected. Zirathi biology was impressive, but Evan knew care mattered too. You don't have to go, the station commander said, his voice less sharp than before. You can stay, we can arrange protection. Compensation. Evan looked back at the station. Kharon-9 had never been kind to him. It had taken his time, his strength, and almost his hope. It had given him survival, but nothing more. He then looked down at the cub. The cub looked up at him with complete trust. Evan made his decision. I don't belong here anymore, he said. A soft sound rippled through the watching aliens. Shock. Curiosity. Fear. The tigress lowered her head slightly, a sign of approval. She placed one hand on Evan's shoulder, not heavy, not gentle. Certain. Chosen. As they moved toward the ship, an elder stepped forward. Human, they said. Do you understand what this means? Evan nodded. I won't just be a guest. No. The elder replied. You will be part of their path. Their enemies may become yours. Evan took a breath. Then their family will be mine too. That was when something rare happened. The elder smiled. The ramp lowered. Warm air flowed from the ship, carrying the scent of clean metal and living systems. The cub bounced ahead, already claiming the space as home. Evan paused at the ramp and looked back one last time. Guard he once knew raised a hand in respect. Another lowered their weapon fully. Fear was gone now. It had been replaced with something far more dangerous. Respect. Inside the ship, the walls shifted as they walked. Lights adjusted to Evan's height and vision. The tigress watched this closely. Her ship was learning him. She led him to a central chamber where symbols glowed along the floor. The cub sat in the center and waited. This is not goodbye. The tigress said, not in words, but in meaning that filled the room. This is a beginning. She stepped forward and placed her palm against Evan's chest again. This time, the symbols flared. A bond mark formed faint, warm and alive. Across Kharon-9, sensors spiked. Alarms tried to start, then shut themselves. Down, the station had just recorded something it could not explain. A Kengru. Human accepted into a Zirathi family bond. The Tigress stepped back. Her eyes held no doubt now. Outside, the docking clamps released. The ship moved. Stars stretched into lines as the vessel slipped into. Faster than light traveled. Evan felt the pull in his bones and something else in his heart. He was no longer a scavenger. He was no longer alone. Far behind them, Karen 9 grew small and silent. And far ahead, the galaxy waited. Not for a weapon, not for an army, but for a human who had proven that kindness could cross species, break fear, and change the course of stars. And the universe was about to learn what happened when a predator queen walked beside a human who refused to turn away. The stars moved like rivers of light outside the ship. Evan stood near the viewing panel, his hand resting against the warm surface of the wall. The ship hummed softly, alive and aware. It no longer felt strange, it felt right. Behind him, the cub slept, curled into a tight ball. Its breathing was steady now, strong. The wound on its leg was almost gone. The Tigress watched both of them. She stood tall, calm, and powerful. But there was something new in her eyes. Trust, not just for her cub, but for Evan too. The ship slowed. They had reached Zirathi space. Massive worlds drifted below, wrapped in glowing clouds and thick atmospheres. Dozens of ships moved in silent patterns. The moment the Tigress's vessel appeared, every other ship adjusted its course. They made space. They showed respect. Evan felt it then. This was not just a mother. This was a leader. As the ship descended, a message spread across the system. The cub lives. The bond is true. The human walks with us. The landing platform filled quickly. Zirathi warriors, elders, and hunters gathered. Their eyes followed Evan as the ramp opened. Some were curious, some were doubtful. A few were angry. The Tigress stepped out first. Her presence silenced them all. She raised one hand, and the crowd parted. Evan followed, his heart steady. He did not bow. He did not hide. The cub ran ahead, strong now, and leapt into the arms of another Zirathi female. Soft sounds of relief spread through the crowd. An elder stepped forward, tall, scarred. What was not yours? The elder said, "You protected what could have killed you." Evan met their gaze. "I did what felt right." The elder studied him for a long moment. Then they nodded. "Then you are Zirathi kin." The words echoed. A human, Xerathi-kin. The Tigress placed her hand on Evan's shoulder once more. Not to protect him this time, but to stand beside him. That single image burned itself into the minds of everyone watching. In the days that followed, the story spread beyond Zirathi space, across trade routes, across war zones, across worlds that had never trusted humans. They spoke of a starving cub, of a human who did not turn away, of a Tigress mother who answered kindness with loyalty. Other species listened. Some laughed, some feared, but many remembered. And when humans later arrived in distant systems, they were no longer seen as weak or foolish. They were seen as something else. Unpredictable, compassionate, dangerous in a way no weapon could match. Evan's life changed quietly. He learned the ways of the Zirathi. He taught them human skills in return. The cub grew strong and fearless, always staying close to the human who had fed him when the universe had not cared. Sometimes, late at night, Evan would look up at the stars and think about Khron-9. About one small choice, one simple act. And how it had become a legend. Not of power, not of conquest, but of heart. And somewhere in the endless dark between stars, the universe learned a new truth. Never underestimate a human, because when a human chooses kindness, even the fiercest predators may choose them back.